pleasant morning to each and everyone. So this is the report of Group 11 or Lesson 11. The title of our topic is Art in Asia. Asia flourished by sharing their cultures and belief. China is one of the oldest civilizations in Asia, has a rich history when it comes to cultures and the arts. Most of their cultures and even religious beliefs and practices are represented through different artworks. Japan was initially influenced by China in terms of the arts. East and West, both Chinese and Japanese artwork are concrete manifestation of their culture's identity as a people. Philippine art was product of several periods in history spanning from the pre-colonial period to the contemporary times depending on a given context.
Chinese culture was a depiction of grandeur and unique characteristics. It, it was held as the earlier culture that was originated 1,000 years ago. Chinese civilization of historically considered the dominant culture of East Asia. Religion played vital role in the development of Chinese culture and its art as well. Chinese art was majorly influenced by Buddhism that was infused by Western art and concept. Religion influenced the local culture on the three main aspects, which was literature, art, and ideology. Confucianism also contributed in the way of the living of the Chinese. It was the dominant way of the life that was communicated to the public. The idea of believing that in order to survive the rough of life, everyone must learn to live with the others. They, they must learn how to sympathize in order to survive. This ideology became evident in the Chinese artwork depicting sceneries of everyday life and social interaction. What I have said a while ago, Western culture has been part of Chinese art because of the missionaries from India that brought an influence to China. However, this event has been remarkable for the artisans of China, for this inspired them to innovate way back in 6th century. From the day on, Chinese artisans started making art that reflect Chinese culture while infusing Western art. At the same time, painting usually entails magical places and imagery of great imagination, while instilling Chinese characters to show the richness of their culture. We can observe Chinese paintings usually illustrate monumental style that were more of rocks and mountains. Chinese artisans give a lot of relative perspective about their paintings or art. Most of the Chinese artwork dives into nature, like subject or ideas, just like their porcelains. They also believe that man is an integral part of nature, ensuring that it must have a balance on it. Those intricate work of artists like porcelains were directly attributed to one generation to the next one. Another essential part of Chinese art and culture was emphasized.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmate. Now we will talk about the identify key characteristic of Japanese art. So now, what is characteristic of Japanese art? The study of characteristic of Japanese art has been complicated by the definition and expectation established in the late 19th and earliest 20th century. When Japan was opened to the West, the occasion of dramatically increased interaction with the other culture seemed to require a convenient summary of Japanese artistic principle and Japanese art. Historian and archaeologists
began to conduct methodologies to categorize and assess a vast body of material ranging from the Neolithic poetry to the wood-block paints, formulated in the part from contemporary scholarly assessment and in part from the synthesis of enthusiastic generalistic this theory on the characteristic of Japanese culture and more specifically Japanese art not unexpectedly bore the prejudice and taste of the times. There was, for example, a tendency to cast the court art of the Heian period, 794 1185, as the apex of Japanese artistic achievement, the artistic preference for refinement sub-image subtly imbued with a metaphoric meaning, reflected the subtly nouns court more that permitted only oblique preference to emotion and value suggestion over bold declaration, existing in tandem with the conjugation of the Heian court. Aesthetic was the nation that the aesthetic sensibilities surrounding the tea ceremony were quintessentially Japan. This common ritual developed in the 16th century emphasized the hyper-conscious juxtaposition of found and finely crafted of object in an exercise intended to lead to subtle emphasis of insight. Its further highlighted the central role of indication and understatement in the Japanese visual artistic. So, this is the explanation of characteristic of Japanese art. So, the study of characteristic of Japanese art is an understanding of the natural world as a source of spiritual insight and an instructive mirror of human emotion, an indigenous religion sensibility that long presided Buddhism pervasive, that a spiritual realm was manifest in the nature, the rock outcropping, waterfalls, and grade. All three were viewed as the adobes of spirit and were understood as their personification. So, another explanation of characteristic of Japanese art, this study belief on system endowed much of nature with numinous qualities. It focused nature, in turn, a sense of proximity to an intimacy with the world of spirits, as well as the trust in nature general, benevolence. The circle of the season was deeply instructive and revealed, for example, that immutability and transcendent perception were not nature norms. Everything was understood as subject to a circle of birth, fruition, death, and decay. Inverted bodies, notion, and transcends where those merge with the indigenous tendency to seek instruction from the nature.
Good morning everyone, my name is Alfia Maybe Catilo and my topic is compare and contrast Chinese and Japanese artwork. So let's start on Chinese. Chinese started making art that highlighted their very own culture. Porcelain is one of the commonly used items to make decorative ornaments such as vases and jars. So here's the example of jars. This jar is made in porcelain, and the focal point in these vases depicts a central theme, nature. But part of their culture is emphasizing a form of social life, giving importance to communities and interactions among people. So let's proceed to the Japanese artwork. Art in Japan has undergone a series of transitions and periodization based on artifacts such as a
ceramic figures, and ornaments. So here's the example of Japanese artwork. And one of the ceramic products created by the Japanese is called Haniwa House. So here's the Haniwa House. These are ceramic figures that are made up of clay. So it seems Japanese art has more variety and complexity in subject and theme than Chinese art. Chinese art almostly never depicts human nature, but Japanese art sometimes does. So that's all. Thank you.
Good morning to each and everyone, especially to you, ma'am. I am the next reporter and I will discuss to you the topic of the Philippine art. So, Philippine art is a Philippine history spanning from the pre-colonial period to the contemporary period. Different art forms have emerged in the Philippine art scene. Before the colonizer came to the Philippines, ethnic minorities have used art not only for daily activities, but also for their religious rituals and practices. Most art forms used by ethnic communities include pottery, weaving, carving, and the use of a metal work and jewelry. So, these art are not only used for their daily activities, ginagamit nila ito para sa kanilang religious rituals and practices. At lahat ng gawa nilang items, lahat ng mga gawa nilang art, is lahat nun ay may sentimental values. And also, they have found in Palawan, they have related on pottery. It's called Manonggol jar. These jar are represent of the early Filipino people for their religious belief and practices. And also, this jar is served as burial jar and it reflect for belief in afterlife. And also, the pottery items they have sentimental values for the earliest Filipinos people. And next is Tibuli people. Tibuli people from Mindanao are also known for their woven abaka called tinalak. And next is wood carvings. Wood carvings are from Palawan, also depict animals like bird, which are representation for their religious belief. So, ito na nga, halos lahat ng mga Philippine art na gawa ay nagsisimbolo sa kanila ng kanilang mga belief. Then, according to the local stories, the birds serve as their messenger of the people to the heaven and vice versa. First is Sari Manok. Sari Manok is stylish design of a mythical bird, either standing on a fish or holding a piece of fish on its beak. So, ito na yung mga kadalasan na dinidesign nyo talaga, na mga makikita mo yan sa mga Maranaos house and Tausug house. Mga design nila sa furniture nila sa mga bahay. Yan, dyan kadalasan mo makikita. Then next is the Naga. Naga are forms of L-shape depicting an elaborate figure of a mythical dragon or serpent. And last is the Paco Arabong. Paco Arabong, on the other hand, it's like a growing fern with a broad base, a fern gracefully stem. And ito yung design, ito rin isa sa mga design na nilalagay nila sa kanilang house. And every one of it are represent for their motif and theme for their houses. But generally, these symbol depict their belief of being people. Then, the Sari Manok and Naga are usually used for the ornament design for the houses of the Sultan. So, ito, yun na nga, sabi ko kanina, nakikita mo lang ito sa mga Maranaos, but usually, makikita mo ito sa mga Sultan houses. That's all. Thank you.
So let's proceed to the next topic. The next topic is the concept of ochre. Ochre, it is an artistic design of the Maranao native inhabitants of the southern Philippines beginning from the early 6th century CE or Common Era before the Islamization of the area. Ochre is a design or pattern often rendered or carved in hardwood brush, silver and wall painting, and curvilinear line and Arabic geometric figure. So the ochre motif is an art depicting the indigenous originality and skills of the Maranao. It is a fine art figuring, painting, carving, and sculpturing depicting the social and psychological identity of Maranao society. It is being protagonized long time ago until today and possibly in the coming generation of Maranao people. So, every artifact of Maranao was made as an ornament, a device, or a decoration that is designed with authentic ochre, revealing that the Maranaos have a distinct and original culture and civilization with no sign being imitated from other cultures. Maranao are proud to preserve their cultural heritage by the way of keeping their artifacts permanently located in their household, carved within their premises like these photos. In the Museum of Mindanao State University, we find display of different tools, devices, and implements of the Maranaos that are being designed with ochre, with varied kinds and samples to showcase the Maranao culture and traditions. So the next topic is how art can be a key element in the formation society's culture. Art influences society by changing opinions, styling values, and translating experiences across space and time. Research has shown art affects the fundamental sense of self. Painting, sculpture, music, and literature, and the other arts are often considered to be the repository of a society collective memory. So for me, because of art, we express our different cultures and beliefs. So that's all. Thank you po.
Good morning everyone, my name is Zainalyn M. Dalanda. My report is talk about art in Asia trivia. Number 1, what is the name of Salvador Dali's famous 1931 painting which feature melting clocks? Answer is The Persistence of Memory. Number 2, which artist painted the famous oil on canvas The Starry Night? Answer is Vincent van Gogh. Number 3, during which century was the famous Mona Lisa painted? Answer is 16th century. Number 4, what is the name given to the technique which combines point and egg yolk for binding paint? Answer is tempera. Number 5, the art movement for Futurism originated in which century in Italy? Answer 20th century.